Hello, my name's Danny Braverman and I'm a theatre maker and lecturer at Goldsmiths College in London. This video podcast describes a framework that I've developed for making and thinking about theatre. It's called Dialogue Across Difference, and it's developed since about 2015 as a result of a range of projects that I've been leading. This is me performing my solo show, What No Fish. And this was the beginning of the Dialogue Across Difference journey. The show was an unexpected hit, but I wasn't sure why. So I spent the next 5 years working it out and what I could learn for the future, both for my own practice and for anyone else that might be interested. If you want to find out more about the show, go to the website. What No Fish seems to work as it brings audiences together from pretty much any background. People of all ages and demographics connect with its story, and they laugh, cry, gasp, and remember it many years after they've been part of an audience. It seems to me that in a world where we're increasingly divided into our separate in-groups and tribes, often excluding others, and with alarming and rising levels of prejudice and bigotry, live events that create a wider sense of community are essential if we are to imagine a better, kinder future. A future that emphasises our connectedness, building on our instincts to cooperate. So, what are the elements of live theatre that strengthen our sense of community? Well, firstly, theatre's a social activity. We actually like being in public spaces with strangers. And if the theatre works, we feel we've something in common with them. We also like sharing our experiences with our friends and our relations. We often choose a show to go to because we think it will be beneficial to share it with our spouse, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, or members of our families. So good theatre is about creating and strengthening social bonds. There are lots of ways to do this. This is a picture of klezmer musicians Dan Gooley and Josh Middleton, who perform in a show I directed, Nick Kassenbaum's Bubbelschmeißes. Dan and Josh's music played in the foyer or in the bar before and after the show. It's one of the main ways that we created a welcoming and friendly atmosphere. When we're in an audience, we also, of course, are engaging our feelings. Here's an image that I show in What No Fish. It was drawn by my great-uncle Ab when his son Larry died in an institution. Audiences have got to know this family during the course of the show. And this moment invariably sparks audible sobbing from the audience. After the show, there are frequently expressions of gratitude that I've put people through this heightened emotional experience. So we want an emotional experience in theatre, but we want one that's shared and that's designed for us. No one wants to be bored or frustrated or triggered to unwanted anger. So the emotional element of performance needs to engage feelings strongly and appropriately. A third element is the educational impact of performance. We have a hunger to learn. Yes, this can be curiosity about the world, wanting to find information. It can also be to enhance our skills. But in a wider sense, the central role of education in performance activity, particularly if we want to see it playing a part in changing the world for the better, is to develop our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Here, theatre can often produce light bulb moments when we suddenly get an insight into how things work. It's worth noting that this happens when people make theatre as well as when they witness it. Here, as an example, is a picture of young people performing a musical I wrote based on the songs of Labi Siffre. Something Inside So Strong involved its young cast as co-creators. They were integral to developing the script and during rehearsals they discuss the issues in the show, particularly those around LGBTQI identity. And they co-created the choreography with professionals. I believe that when you get all these three elements right, the social, the emotional, and the educational, you get a quality that makes theatre uniquely powerful as a shared experience. I think of this as the spiritual dimension. This can seem a very woolly term, precisely because it's describing something that by definition is subjective and beyond words. But we know it when we see it. Perhaps it's useful to look at some of the other words we use to describe this phenomenon. Beautiful, memorable, truthful, uplifting, awe-inspiring, loving, hopeful, transcendent. When we live in a world where so much culture is disposable and forgettable, when we're bombarded during all our waking hours with tweets and memes and advertising and so on, there's a unique opportunity for a shared live event to be an antidote to this world of distractions, to rise above the everyday, to be something meaningful that will stay with us. There's a well-documented mental health crisis globally. It's a symptom of the world we live in, with a lot of complex reasons that affect people of all backgrounds. Much has been said about how this results from neoliberal capitalism and the impact it has on every aspect of our lives. So often, the solution to the mental health pandemic has been individualised and medicalised. We should go to the doctor, shouldn't we, and get a prescription or access therapy of one kind or another. Although for individuals this can make some difference, it is treating the symptoms rather than the cause. So I would ask, what if we had a stronger, wider sense of community, an inclusive, not exclusive vision of community, one that bridges our divisions rather than widens them? And this is where I see good theatre fitting in. Rather than the individual being responsible for finding positive mental health, it becomes a shared responsibility. We use theatre to develop what Rob Hopkins, the pioneer behind the Transition Towns movement, calls community resilience. So here's how it all pieces together. I see dialogue across difference as a tool for how theatre can play its part in developing strong communities. The emphasis on dialogue is important. We can't build bridges with people different from us through any sense of superiority or preaching. Theatre needs to provide a generous, open, inclusive space. It has to have a strong democratic sense where everyone feels valued. We mustn't be afraid to be utopian. Theatre is a space for imagination where we can be released with others from our day-to-day concerns, if only for a short while. And imagination is essential to real radicalism. A better future can't be realised unless it's first imagined and dreamed and shared collectively. Lest we forget, Martin Luther King didn't start his famous speech with, "I have a spreadsheet." Finally, I'll leave you with something to consider. If this combination of factors, the social, emotional, educational and spiritual, can work together to create stronger, healthier, more sustainable communities, what can we learn from theatre for all our other endeavours? For example, for our teaching, our political meetings, our work conferences, and our community celebrations. Thank you.